So Tulsi Gabbard ripped what she's calling the new Cold War in a speech in San Francisco. Check this out.
The fact that we are spending trillions of dollars on wasteful regime change wars, on this new Cold War between the United States and nuclear-armed countries like Russia and China as tensions continue to increase, and this nuclear arms race that has been kicked off by actions like the one President Trump took recently in withdrawing from this historic INF treaty negotiated between Reagan and Gorbachev. These actions have put us as a country and the world in a position where we are at a greater risk of nuclear catastrophe than ever before in history. Now, what's interesting is as I share this information and talk about these issues with leaders in Washington, they say, really? Really? More than the Cuban Missile Crisis? More than the Cold War with the Soviet Union? Yes, the answer is yes. This is the reality of the threat, the existential threat we're facing today, and it should alarm every one of us here that leaders in Washington are either not paying attention, they don't know, or they don't care. This should alarm every one of us because that means not only are we not addressing this threat, but the actions that leaders in Washington are taking are actually making it worse. I want to get to why I bring this issue up and why it's important to every one of us. We in Hawaii had a huge wake-up call about a year ago when there was a text alert that went out to over 1 million phones all across our state that said, "Missile incoming, seek shelter immediately. This is not a drill." I want to let that sink in for a second. So we all have phones in our pockets. Imagine that on a Saturday morning, like the one we are gathered here today, people in Hawaii were just waking up, maybe thinking about, maybe I'm going to go to the beach today or go hang out with my friends. When this message comes across their phones, think about what you would do and how you would feel, who you would think about, where you would go if you got that message as we're sitting here today, knowing that there are just minutes to live. It was terrifying. This is why I'm running for president, because none of you should have to go through what we went through in Hawaii. No family in this country should have to go through what our families went through in Hawaii. Not a single person in this country should have to live at any point in the day thinking about, what would I do if I got that message? We must change our foreign policy, the way we are relating to different countries, and build those relationships based on cooperation, not conflict, and work towards this future where we are getting rid of nuclear weapons rather than building more of them. To build this future where we are taking those trillions of dollars being spent on wasteful regime change wars and a nuclear arms race and taking those dollars and bringing them to serve the needs of people here at home. To make sure that we have health care for everyone, to make sure our kids have a great education and a great future.
Yeah, that was on point. She also went on to say this on Twitter. Short-sighted politicians and media pundits who've spent the last 2 years accusing Trump as a Putin puppet have brought us the new expensive Cold War and arms race. How? Because Trump now does everything he can to prove he's not Putin's puppet, even if it brings us closer to nuclear war. Now, let me explain something to you. She got a lot of shit underneath that tweet from, centrist-minded Democrats. Let me explain something to you. That's not debatable. What she's talking about is an empirical fact. So we've discussed it before. We're one of few outlets that actually bring this stuff up. But Donald Trump decided we're going to do an increase of NATO troops on Russia's border. He decided that we're going to put U.S. warships in the Black Sea by Russia's border. He decided that we're going to arm Ukrainian rebels who are literally fighting Russia. Something that's so extreme, Obama was like, I'm not going to do that one. That's a giant escalation of tensions. And he also has repeatedly gone after Angela Merkel and other European leaders who have an oil deal with Russia. And he kept telling them, nope, you got to cancel that oil deal and you got to do an oil deal with us. Now, all of those things are massively, massively, massively against what Vladimir Putin wants. Trump is staying in Syria, which is against what Vladimir Putin wants. There's just a plethora of policies where it's the polar opposite of what Putin wants. And honestly, many of those policies are way too hawkish, and they're not good policies. And that's making tensions go up, and it's getting us to some scary places. And I'm sure a lot of that is because he keeps getting accused of being Putin's puppet. So his reaction is, I'm going to be basically super hawkish on this issue, and I'm going to do the opposite of what any kind of Putin puppet would do. And that's never even acknowledged that the policies are anti-Putin, as they are, as I just laid them out for you and gave you the specific policies. That's never even acknowledged, and if anything, it's used as more evidence that somehow he is Putin's puppet. Like when he pulled out of the treaty, he pulled out of a fucking nuclear treaty we had with Russia, which was obviously an amazingly good thing. It's at one of the ends of the Cold War. It's one of the things that stopped the Cold War. Now we pull out of that, restart the Cold War, and everybody's like, aha, doing Putin's bidding. What? Marching towards nuclear annihilation is doing Putin's bidding? How fucking stupid are these people? Jesus Christ, they spin everything to fit their narrative. And Tulsi's the only candidate on the Democratic side who's speaking up on this issue and saying brave things that get her backlash in many, centrist circles. But she's right. And she's now pushing back against not just regime change wars, but also the new Cold War, which is so important. And we need to get to the place where we do détente, we have conversation. That used to be the left position. Let's talk it out. Let's figure something out. Let's move away from the brink of war here. Let's work together. And working together was not viewed as treason. It was viewed as common sense. But now it's viewed as, oh my God, if you want to work with Putin in any way, shape, or form, if you want to do negotiations and compromise and conversation, oh my God, you're a rube and you're treasonous, which is insanity. So props to Tulsi Gabbard for sticking her neck out there on this issue. It's incredibly important.